Martin O'Neill said that Villa were in a commanding position after the first leg, with some understatement in Iceland. 4-1 winners, Aston Villa, after the first leg of what is a final qualifying round for the UEFA Cup. His biggest concern, the manager, who to leave out and who to introduce ahead of Sunday's visit of Liverpool in the Premier League. It is 26 years since Aston Villa were European champions, 6 years since they last featured in Europe, but they are boosted here by the commitment, at least from Gareth Barry. He will be staying at Aston Villa. He will be facing Liverpool in the Premier League on Sunday. Somewhat sparse crowd here at Villa Park this evening. The club have decided to peg ticket prices back. They've said it's £10 for adults. It's just a £5 for the under-16s. As always, a big following in the Holt End. They would expect that Aston Villa will make their way through to the first round proper of the UEFA Cup, and lying in wait, of course, so many of the teams who dropped out of the Champions League last night. Aston Villa then can relax, having established that 4-1 lead in the first leg in Iceland. Martin O'Neill hasn't wrecked the look of his team while still making 6 changes from Saturday's 3-2 defeat at Stoke in the Premier League. Nicky Shorey was never an option, having been injured at the Britannia Stadium. As a result, Gareth Barry is at left back. In comes that night Mustafa Saliu, Craig Gardner, Marlon Harewood, Azar Osborne and Wayne Routledge, all here with a chance to impress.
Well, looking at the teams, I just feel that Martin has picked what I would call a nicely balanced side for this particular game. 4-1 up, it's something that he'll be looking for, a good, solid, professional performance, no messing about, and I could see, a comfortable win here for them, provided that they maintain that professional edge that Martin will be looking for.
From their HF Hafnarfjo, or FH as we're delighted to call him this evening, never recovered from conceding 2 goals in the first 6 minutes of the first leg. The team is made up of the usual assortment of builders, carpenters and office workers, although Horta Valgardsson has played for the national team this year, aged just 19, and Matthias Wilhelmsson scored 3 goals last summer when FH were unsuccessfully bidding to get into the Champions League. It still won't be enough for them though, although they are boosted by the return up front of Alti Bordensen.
You can see from FH the sort of strength in midfield of numbers. They'll certainly want to dominate that if they can. They're looking at the present time, we suspect they're going to play 3 at the back, but that midfield area, it will be something that Villa will have to take control of, because there's a lot of bodies in there.
It'll be FH who get us underway here then at Villa Park. Here's a look at coincidences. Might want to ponder that when Aston Villa won the European Cup in 1982, they started with a 5-0 win over Valur of Iceland. A result that's still Villa's best in 77 games in Europe. Are we to get a repeat this evening? Villa, of course, facing their 4th fixture in Europe, having qualified by the Intertoto Cup. Had a bit of a struggle against Odense of Denmark, winning through 3-2 on aggregate. But Graham, you saw the first leg and it was far more comfortable for them in Iceland.
It certainly was. They had a comfortable win, the kind of win that you particularly like to bring back home to you. Very interesting, look at their early formation. Looks like Petrov is playing in the hole behind Agbonlahor and Harewood.
Here's Routledge. First shot on goal, and has come from Wayne Routledge, who was on the bench in Iceland and off the bench again at Stoke at the weekend. Routledge, who joined in January from Tottenham Hotspur, struggled a little bit, hasn't he, Graham, since his time at Crystal Palace. And Simon Jordan, the Palace owner, was saying only last week that he feels that Routledge has underachieved a little bit since he left Palace.
He certainly hasn't moved on as everybody expected him to do. He wasn't able to make a mark at Tottenham. Martin spent £1 million on him to come here. He's given him some time in the reserves on training as well, but he's got to take the opportunity when it comes to him, and tonight maybe just that.
Here's another one hoping to get a good opportunity, Mustafa Saliu. Portuguese international who played in 3 games for them at the World Cup in Germany a couple of years back. On by Barry, here as a left-back for Villa. How important is it to have the commitment from Gareth Barry now that he will stay with Aston Villa? But he's been caught hopelessly out of position here. There's possibilities for F. Howe. It's Nigel Reo-Coker, who is playing in what for him is something of an unconventional position at right back, who's made the clearance.
I don't think there's any doubt about Gareth Barry's commitment. I personally don't think that left back is his best position. He gets caught now and again, as you saw there. But his general commitment to Aston Villa, will be as strong as ever.
Matthijs Gudmundsson scored for FH in the first leg. And they did create the Villa defence 1 or 2 problems. Caught out early on where they conceded 2 goals in the first 6 minutes, but they had their chances and they got their reward just before the interval. Yeah,
it certainly did that. I think the one thing that Martin will be looking to have a clean sheet. If you look at them last season, Aston Villa 71 goals, good total there, but conceded 51. And they're starting like that again this season. They're conceding too many goals.
It's an area that Villa want to tighten up. They've got Zach Knight, the centre of defence here, alongside Curtis Davis this evening. Davis, who's done so well to recover from that terrible injury back in January, just after he'd been included in Fabio Capello's first international squad.
Well, HL obviously, or FL, so we get it right. Obviously looking, to take the game there. It all depends how much Aston Villa want to put their foot on the pedal here, but FL's just looking to get the ball moving a little bit, and they'll be looking not to have a heavy defeat.
Gardner made the forward move there. Gardner playing in midfield here this evening for Aston Villa. Martin O'Neill deciding to experiment a little bit. He's keeping everybody fresh too, isn't he?
They've got a very important game on the Sunday, haven't they, against Liverpool.
Jahaz says that the UEFA Cup is important to Villa this season. The priority does remain the Premier League. Quite obvious by FH, and it's Bjornsson who's causing the problems here. 7 goals this season in the league for FH, who tend to do it the hard way. They were 3-0 down at the weekend and fought back to draw 3-3. Skipper this evening, Vidarsson, started that game on the bench. He was one of those who did get a rest. Popped up their equaliser in the 4th minute of the second half stoppage time.
And what Villa have to do, they have to get a tempo to their game, and that means moving the ball quickly. At the present time, I think they're just moving it too slowly, and I think that's relatively easy.
Bon Lahore looking to find Harewood. Rare start for Marlon Harewood. Here's Reo-Coker, challenged by Tryggvi Gudmundsson. And Routledge. It's come right across the face of goal, and that was a presentable chance in the end. It was Gardner who was sliding in.
Does well here. Bon Lahore does well. He looked up. I thought he might just have pulled it back, to tell you the truth. Villa player coming in from the edge of the penalty box chose not to do so, but a good opportunity missed there.
Gardner's featured in all 4 of Villa's Euro ties this season. They did miss a chunk of last season with a thigh problem. And under 21 international, of course, as is Rabbi Bon Lahore.
Interested to see how Osborne and Salifau do in midfield for Villa. It's opportunities for them all of the time. You can only give of your best, but play, and you impress your manager. And there's 3 or 4 Villa players here where this is a big opportunity for them tonight.
And there's Salifau, the 25-year-old now. He made his debut back in January against Reading in the Premier League. It was the first of just 4 appearances as a substitute, so a start for him this evening, and a start in midfield as well for Anzar Osborne. As good as at Coventry, did so well, and nearly created a shock in the Carling Cup earlier this week against Newcastle United.
I think another player would be Zach Knight. He was a regular there, got suspended, lost his place, and never really got back into the side again. So this is an important game for him.
Here's Gardner drilling that cross in. Well dealt with by Sigurdsson. God, appears to have got a license to roam. He's popping up everywhere. This stage in Iceland, Villa were 2 goals up. As Muir said already, that there is plenty of room for improvement. Impressive here in the Premier League against Manchester City, a 4-2 win, and then conceding 3 goals at Stoke last weekend.
I saw the Manchester City game, came purely as a spectator, and it was a good win, there's no doubt about it, although Manchester City did defend very poorly on occasion. But it was an example again there to concede the 2 goals, when they've got control of the game. That I think has to worry Martin, their inability to keep a clean sheet.
Martinelli will be eager to keep 1 or 2 of these fringe players on their toes, giving them the chance here in the UEFA Cup. This was Gary Megson at Bolton last season, wasn't it, who decided to play what in effect was his second 11 at Sporting, as he said the priority was then Premier League survival. Pushing for the top 4, the priority this season for Aston Villa. That's a promise again shown by F. Howe here. Matthias Gudmundsson, who scored in the first leg and he forced a save out of Brad Friedel.
Done very well there. I mean, Friedel will certainly not be used to conceding the goals in his early start there, but they're moving the ball about quite well, and Villa just have to watch themselves, and certainly the supporters will not see, want to see them go behind.
Tony Wilson has gone forward. Done by Sim. He's Valgatsson, who's given the ball away to Gardner. Howard is offside. Howard, who fidgeted on the bench for much of last season. And 1 Premier League start.
The game a fortnight ago, Matthias Gudmundsson, he was quite impressive. Of all of the foul players, he was the one that impressed, and just there he did well and brought that save off Friedel. So it's not as if there's not a threat from them, and Villa must be careful.
Valgatsson. This is where they perhaps just lack a little bit of quality. Vidarsson, the skipper, who had that early blast at Friedel. Now in his second spell with F. Howe. He's played at the top level in Norway. There's 1 or 2 have played in Norway and also Denmark in the top division in those 2 countries. Trygve Gudmundsson. And again by Wilhelmsson. Matthias Gudmundsson now. Valgatsson. Driven along, and again they're looking for Trygve Gudmundsson.
Period of controlled possession there, and they got their cross in, probably just that little bit overhit, got a deflection a little bit I thought, but referee didn't see it that way.
Trygve Gudmundsson, who scored 3 goals in the last qualifying round against Gravenmanker of Luxembourg. Howe did it the hard way in that one as well. They were 2-0 down after just 25 minutes of the first game. Managed to scramble away through.
Certainly know what it's like to come back from 2 or 3 goals down, but I'm pretty certain they're not going to do that tonight. I'd just like to see Villa get a little bit more of a buzz about the game, a little bit of sharpness about them.
On again by Gardner. Here's Davis, who did officially complete his move from West Bromwich Albion in the summer, having joined initially 12 months ago on loan. Azar Osborne. The chance to cut inside. Salif. Here's Barry. Agbonlahor. That's a great deal from Gabi Agbonlahor so far. Salafu. They're telling him to have a go, and he's done just that.
A little bit of good play there by Agbonlahor. He just holds him up well there. It looks like he steps in and then picks his head up and sees it. Just wonder if he might have been better coming onto that first time and shooting it, but it's still a reasonable effort there.
Salafu again. Just to skip away from the first challenge. Villa with 4 forward here. Now Routledge. The support from Rio Coca. He's delivered the cross, which has been deflected behind for a corner kick.
Got the cross there, got the deflection off the defender there. The goalkeeper had then to deal with it.
Warm applause for Gareth Barry as he comes across to take this corner kick. All is forgiven, it seems now. And the flick on has caused problems again for the goalkeeper, Sigurdsson. Salafu. Helped out by Tryggvi Gudmundsson. He did have a time in England with Stoke City. He had a couple of trials there, but nothing came of it when Stoke, of course, had Icelandic owners.
Good little play there by Routledge, you know, there. And he needs to have a run of good games. There's a little bit of an ability there. He's a bit unlucky there for the ball to just run out of play.
Really benefit from regular first-team football because, of course, when he was at Tottenham, he was loaned out to Fulham and then to Portsmouth, wasn't he?
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you have to do it yourself eventually in all professional competitive sports, but it's always, you know, I think helps you if you feel that you want it. And with, I think, Martin O'Neill bringing him at that stage of his career, perhaps he may settle down and we may find out. I think, if anything, the most it will be a squad player in Martin's team. I don't think he'll be a regular first-team player.
A competition like this is incentive enough, as it is for Salif, who's only played in the lower leagues elsewhere in Europe, Germany, France and Switzerland, before getting his chance with Villa. On by Knight. Agbonlahor was looking for Harewood. John Peru getting a night off. Scored in the first 2 Premier League games, of course, Peru. Overshadowed somewhat by Agbonlahor against Manchester City when Agbonlahor scored a hat-trick. Valgertsen. Losing out to Routledge. Much better from Aston Villa, playing the ball around the park nicely. Osborne, he's picked out Harewood. Gardner's arriving in the middle, and has been swept to safety just as Dennis Singer is sliding in there.
I think that shows what Villa can do when they move the ball earlier. 1 touch and 2 touch. They've opened and looked comfortably there, and it was good play. I think they need to do more of that.
Harewood making the angle there for Osborne's pass. Garner was very nearly on the end of it. Barry again across to take this corner kick. Knight is set. Barry gets a second chance. Punched away by Sigurdsson. Not too far. Gardner went down. Villa were looking for the free kick, but they're not going to get one.
No, not there. I thought, you know, the keeper Sigurdsson, I thought would have been much better catching it. A bit surprised that he chose to punch that, but he nearly paid the full price there as well.
Sigurdsson, the goalkeeper, has only recently returned to the F-House starting lineup. Agbonlahor away from the first challenge. Here's Gardner, left by Gardner, now Routledge. And the finish was perhaps a bit too elaborate. There's brilliant thinking by Gardner initially to set up his teammate then.
There's an opportunity there. Once again, Agbonlahor has done well there. Petrov lets it come in there. It's a little bit of a wild finish that I think he should do better than that. He's tried to hit it with the outside of his right foot, bending it in, but not successful.
Impressive start by Craig Gardner. Normally a right back, here playing in the central midfield and an advanced midfield role as well for Villa.
Yeah. That's his position to start with, really, was Craig. Was always a midfield player, and he got the run actually last year to get into right back and did quite well, but I'm not so certain that Martin O'Neill sees him there as a right back that can help take the team higher up, and in fact that's why Luke Young has been bought. Sorry, have I said?
Not likely to miss this game. Almost a handful of Premier League games in his time with Blackburn Rovers, and just to continue the run in the UEFA Cup with Aston Villa as he did it with Blackburn. After, of course, goalkeepers are given a night off on occasions such as this. Galatasaray, one of Friedel's former clubs, who are also in the UEFA Cup now, having been knocked out of the Champions League yesterday evening. Koka. And Davis. Routledge loses out to Valgadsson. One back again by Gardner. Sim slides in.
Gardner's having an influence in the game, there's no doubt about it, and he will see this once again. His favourite position is in the middle of the park, creating things, making things happen as well.
Salafi. And again by Knight. They were forced to be patient. FA's coach Helmer Gudjonsson said before the first leg that they were always going to try and make it difficult for Aston Villa. And it's a big night out for them as well, isn't it, Graham, when you consider that many of this team are part-timers. The goalkeeper Sigurdsson is a carpenter, Eriksson, who's on the bench, is a lawyer. They've got a dentist out there as well.
You know, we shouldn't forget that. You're quite right what you say there, Tony. It's a part-time trade for them. They're 4-1 down and they're coming into a Premier League side. So, you know, whatever they do, if they don't get embarrassed at all, you know, they've got to be given credit for it.
A couple of the squad actually feature in the national squad. And none of them played last week in a friendly fixture against Azerbaijan, which perhaps shows you the level that they're at. That is the FH coach, Helmer Gudjonsson. He's taken over from Olafur Johansson, who's now taken charge of the national team.
I mean, in Iceland they've done well. I mean, I think it's 3 out of 4 years that they've won the championship. So you know, at their level, they're a very successful club.
In by Barry, goalkeeper thought about coming. He's been helped out by Sim. Sigurdsson less positive then, having previously come out and punched clear. Barry, he had a look up, and he's tried that right-footed. Well, who said that Gareth Barry does it all with his left foot?
It turned out very well. He's got the time, checks in, tries to bend it round with the right foot, gets the bend on it, but not sufficient. But it's a good effort.
Barry has scored in Europe already this season. He also picked up a caution in the first leg in Iceland. Agbonlahor is offside. Yeah, going back to the caution, if he was cautioned again this evening, then it would rule him out of the first round proper. The only cautions picked up in the Intertoto UEFA Cup qualifying beyond this evening are ruled out, so he'd start afresh if he didn't get a yellow card tonight. Trygve Gudmundsson on the same wavelength as Valgardsson, and gaps have emerged here for Rio Coker on the charge forward. It's Gardner.
He'll be disappointed with that because he's had time to get the shape, think about it, and he just doesn't connect with it right, drags it wide, doesn't get it. But we said earlier he's been involved in, you know, a lot of Villa moves, and certainly he's doing a lot of work in behind those two, getting forward in behind the front two.
Aston Villa have spent an awful lot of money in the last couple of years, but their academy has proved very fruitful as well in recent years. So many youngsters who've come through, and indeed Craig Gardner's younger brother featured for England at under-16 level last year.
It's a very, very good academy. It's up there with the top ones because it's not easy for young boys to come through, you know, and make their presence felt immediately in the first team. But Villa have been having a good production in these last 3 or 4 years of boys getting opportunities.
And look at the bench tonight as well, with Delfonso there and Baker. 2 17-year-olds who are among the Villa substitutes. The semi-finalists, of course, in the FA Youth Cup last season. Here's Trygve Gudmundsson trying to get in behind Rio Coker. Harewood. Flick on which got the better of Tommy Nielsen, who's the oldest player in this FH team. 36-year-old. One of the most famous goals in FH's history when they won through to the first round proper by beating Dunfermline. Scots have been on the verge of progressing on away goals, and then Nielsen popped up in the very last minute. And if you've joined us late, let's not forget that Manchester City have won through in dramatic fashion earlier today. A game also shown on 5. Own goal in the last minute of the 90, which took it to extra time in Midtjylland in Denmark. And City then winning through in a penalty shootout. It's going to be a good English representation in the UEFA Cup this season.
Yes, it is. I mean, Martin's always wanted to get into a UEFA competition. You know, the top 4 is one position, but certainly entering the Intertoto in the manner that it is now gives you an opportunity to get into the UEFA Cup.
Here's Hale. Now Davis. Salif. Now Bon Lahore. Able to wriggle away from Åse Oskarsson, one of those who didn't start in the first leg. Bjornsson looking for Trygve Gudmundsson. Villa suddenly stretched. It's Trygve Gudmundsson with a header, having been set up by Bjornsson.
Well, you know, Trygve Gudmundsson was the only one that could make the penalty box. Got a header in, but it was never going to trouble Friedel.
Challenged by Nielsen. Bjornsson didn't feature in the first game in Iceland. He's got 7 goals in the league this summer for FH. Harewood just couldn't force away beyond Sim. It's fair to say that Marlon Harewood has been utilised more as an impact player by Martin O'Neill.
In all truthfulness, that's probably what Marlon is, and I don't mean that disrespectful at all. But at the level that they're operating now, you know, you can bring him on and hopefully get that 10 minutes from him and that effect on the game. And I think Martin is using him correctly.
He's got a lot of goals, of course, with West Ham when they emerged from the Championship back into the Premier League. It's Harewood on the ball. You're giving the big build-up. Curse of the commentator.
That's this, isn't it, all of the time. But I mean, he's a strong, powerful boy, and you get the ball in front of him as well. He's hard to stop. But I just feel that there needs to be a little bit more if Villa are really talking about the opportunity to break at one stage or the other into the top 4.
Oskarsson again just trying to look for Bjornsson. Barry comfortable and composed. Gardner as busy as ever, popping up just about everywhere at the moment, Craig Gardner. Osborne. Now Rio Coca. Here's Davis. Gardner trying to peel away from Nielsen. It's a chance for Villa, and it's the opening goal, and deservedly it has been scored by Craig Gardner. Villa's most influential performer in this first half has got his reward now. Villa lead on the night and 5-1 on aggregate.
Well, if anyone deserves to score this goal, it is Craig Gardner, because he has been involved. It's a good pass out from Davis, and Hayward uses strength initially to hold off, comes back in. It's a very good controlled finish by Craig Gardner. Puts Villa into a 5-1 aggregate lead.
Gardner simply wasn't picked up. Villa with the lead then. It's been a long time coming in reality. Villa in front after 27 minutes of this first half. It's always going to be tough for FH. I think they'd have settled maybe for a final scoreline like this, but just wonder in the second half, particularly if they start to tire, how many they might concede.
There's no doubt there is that. We're talking about the part-time level of fitness there'll be, as well as opposed to the full-time. One has to say, though, that the role that Gardner is being asked to play on this particular night seems to suit him perfectly.
Don't forget, we're always keen to hear your thoughts on the games here on 5, and you can text us. Text the word comments plus your name, where you're from, and your views to 80088. This is his charge. You can see that 25p plus your usual operator charges. And discuss with Pat and Colin and Stan at half-time what you think of Aston Villa in this game and how you see them shaping up during the rest of the season. Not really biting his nails, is he?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's easy to say this. Sometimes games can get too easy for you, and you end up, I say, slowing it down. The more Villa keep the ball moving, don't let it get still, just keep it moving, even if you're keeping it at the back as they are doing now. Keep the ball moving, you're moving the opposition about.
A couple of absentees, of course. Mickey Shaw, he picked up a knock at the weekend, hasn't been risked. Steve Sidwell, one of Villa's summer signings, is still on his way back as Villa look for a second goal. And Routledge, who missed that earlier chance, was at full stretch then, couldn't quite get there.
That's a good run by him, it's a good pass as well. And he looks as if he's just going to nick it, but misses it.
Mathias Gudmundsson. Well dealt with there by Friedel, but there's a chance here, and it's a reward for FH. It's Atle Bjornsson who's got the equalising goal. The striker who missed the first game, but who's been in top form in the Icelandic League, has got the equalising goal here. Real stunner from FH.
It just shows you what can happen. Is it Routledge at one end misses an opportunity to put Villa 2 up, and we've all seen it so many times. The cross comes in, and Brad Friedel will not be pleased with that whatsoever. I mean, it's hammered into the back of the net after that, but Friedel will look at that as a poor mistake by him. Should have got it out of the area, either attempted to catch it or got it way out the area. But as you see, he just brings it down. He's all the time, he's going to thump this. He got no chance.
Atle Bjornsson then with the equalising goal for FH. Brad Friedel palming that cross straight into the feet of the in-running striker. Here's Barrett. Gardner. Done well to pick out Routledge. It's a great cross in as well, which is well dealt with by Sim.
He's got it. Routledge gets hold of it. It's a good touch. Bends across in there. You know, he's a little bit unfortunate. We see more of that from him.
Driven in by Barrett. Fisted away again by Sigurdsson.
I think I would say here, Tony, I'm sure Martin O'Neill will be looking for a clean sheet against them. I was talking earlier about them. That's been one of their problems. It was last season, not being able to keep clean sheets.
It's never dull at Villa Park, is it? I mentioned earlier that they scored 71 goals last season, Aston Villa, which is their highest total since they won the championship back in 1981. It really was that they conceded more than 50. And they've conceded again. Three at Stoke at the weekend, conceded in Iceland, conceded 2 in Denmark against Odense. Their only clean sheet in the second leg of that inter-toto tie. And Liverpool to come on Sunday. Barry just waits for Davis to complete his run forward. And they're looking for Davis. A jump there by Nielsen. Which would be Gudmundsson. We've had an unsuccessful spell with Stoke City, and 2 other former now FH players who 1 or 2 Football League supporters might remember. Arne Gunnlaugsson and his twin Bjarki, who've just left the club. They've become joint coaches at Akranes. They had time in England, of course. Bjarki was at Preston, I seem to remember, and Arne was at Leicester and Bolton.
I think it was the Icelandic owners when they're not at Stoke.
That's right, yeah.
When Gudmundsson was there.
Norwood offside. Comfortably offside.
I think it's something you're always asking to one. You know, there can be an eagerness to go for, particularly when you know you've got the pace. And it's an art to, to learn to stay right on the shoulder of the last defender and time your run so you don't get caught offside. Not always easy, but it's certainly an art worth working at.
Which has got the better of the FH backline, which is now shaping up as a back four. We speculated that they might play with 3 at the back. They did make the 1 change because Osakan is actually playing as a right back, although he is normally a right-sided midfielder. Here's Knight. Knight has played in the UEFA Cup with Fulham. And Bon Lahore gives checks. A wild clearance by Sigurdsson. Harewood late, and despite the hand of apology,
looks here now, it's oof, dear me. You see, people call that a forwards challenge. I don't. I just call that a shocking challenge. You can't dive in like that. It's lucky for his opponent got out of the way of it.
Oscarson stepping aside. Jan Kuipers of the Netherlands is our referee this evening. For a moment I thought he was going to reach for his yellow card, but decided otherwise. Given away by Nielsen. This time loses out. Well, perhaps just a bit too casual. Conceded that goal less than 3 minutes after they'd scored themselves.
It's always a problem, isn't it? You get yourself in front, and any time to think about it, you consider. A lot of people say you're at your most vulnerable when you have scored, because concentration tends to go.
What about the atmosphere as well? I know Villa have been very positive with their pricing for this game, school holidays and cheaper admission for under 16s, and there's still a big gathering in the Holt End, but still lots of empty spaces and not really a proper atmosphere.
Well, no, I think Villa supporters, they look at 4-1 up, they've seen it, and they've probably come for just a comfortable night in that sense. And as long as that you see something that is worthwhile watching, I don't think they're expecting a great deal themselves. They realise that the tie is won.
It's a magnificent crossfield pass by Osborne to search out Barry. Osborne, another of those who's trying to impress this evening. And another of those youngsters we mentioned.
Yeah, that's one thing that the Villa do have. They do have a good collection of youngsters who are there or thereabouts. The problem that you have as a manager, as the Premiership as it is, or as the Premier League as it is, how many youngsters can you put in at one go? How can you develop them? And this is a problem that a lot of clubs have.
Osborne unfortunate to miss out on a move to Leicester. I think back in January, Martin O'Neill was prepared to loan him out to his former club to give him some competitive action on a regular basis. Leicester, of course, struggling to stay in the Championship at that stage. And then Osborne picked up an injury and the move never happened for him. Gareth Barry, who won't be moving during this August transfer window. So much speculation, of course, that Villa will maybe make 1 or 2 signings before the window closes next week. James Milner is one who's been mentioned.
It certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Villa do that. Martin has that reputation. He'll have bid, but he'll not want to go above something that he thinks is out of order.
And again by Gardner. Bon Lahore was coming back from an offside position then and couldn't get involved. Kevin Doyle of Reading is another name that's being speculated upon. Steve Coppell said firmly after their Carling Cup win earlier in the week that Doyle wasn't going anywhere. On again by Gardner. Bon Lahore, quick feet to get him away from the first challenge, and he was just caught there by Sim.
Sim looks very upset about that. Look, you see, it was a good tackle by Sim. Came across him.
2 options here for Aston Villa. The right foot, the more subtle approach of Craig Gardner, and the blast maybe from Gareth Barry. I'm sure that Sigurdsson, the goalkeeper, knows what's coming one way or the other. 5 in that defensive wall. He hasn't got the skipper's armband tonight, but you can be sure he will want to take responsibility, but he stepped away. It is Gardner. Gardner again. Second effort was probably better than the first.
It's a good volley.
It's been a terrific first half as well, hasn't it, for Gardner?
He's certainly been the player that's caught your eye, and he's done very, very well there in that role.
And by Osborne. And by the experienced Nielsen. Knight is looking for Harewood. 2 of those very much on the fringes of Villa at the moment. Carew and Bon Lahore normally the 2 up front. Davis and Lawson, the 2 who normally play at the centre of defence.
As Lawson and Carew there. 2 very, very important players in the Aston Villa first team. Carew, big, strong, will get his goals, creates goals, and Lawson at the end, the same at the back, and will come up for corners and free kicks. I think he got 7 goals last year.
Lawson, who picked up his 50th cap for Denmark last week. Harewood has gone in again. Well, he's been lenient enough. Got away with the first one, hasn't got away with the second one for that challenge, and Marlon Harewood has picked up a yellow card.
You could say at that time, that he's come in for balls, but once you get your feet off the ground, you're asking for trouble, particularly when you've done a tackle like he had done only 30 seconds earlier.
It's a yellow card for Marlon Harewood for that challenge on Bjorn Daniel Sverresson. Away for the earlier challenge on Åsa Åsesson. Salifou. Here's Routledge, adopting a more central position now, Wayne Routledge. Effectively with 4 forward. And Bon Lahore, who's switched from left to right, taking on Valgadze. Salifou was on the end of it. Better approach play again from Aston Villa, just up the tempo a little bit and injected a little bit of pace.
There's some good play there. It came out suddenly, look, one touch, and one touch again. I mean, if they could see, I'm sure Martin will be saying to that, it's I say it so often, it's not the pace of the players that makes the pace of the game, it's the pace of the ball, and there you saw a fine example of it.
Oscarson. Well, tonight, don't forget, we're still in the middle of the cricket season as well. Cricket on 5, the third one-day international. England, South Africa highlights tomorrow evening. That's on 5 at 7:15. That's the third one-day international from the Oval. England leading the series 2-0. Those who watched the second game shortchanged a little bit the other day. Suggestion of handball there by Valgadsson. Dutch referee says play on. Vidasa. Driven in by Valgadsson. Again, there's a Bjornsson in the middle waiting for that cross. Harewood's away. Can he keep the ball in play? And Bon Lahore is alongside, being joined now by Gardner. Harewood held up for long enough. It will be a goal kick.
He had a run there, didn't he, which we know is very strong if he knocks it and knocks it past. I thought after he'd done that, probably had once again too many touches of the ball for me there. You know, you sort of negate your pace at times then when that happens.
He's featured in Europe before with West Ham. Just a couple of games in the UEFA Cup when they went out to Palermo a couple of years back. Villa's most experienced European performers are all on the bench tonight. Carrera got to a European Cup final. Iceland didn't play many games in his time in Italy with Milan. And let's not forget Petrov as well. He was with Martin O'Neill. And Celtic got to the final of the competition. UEFA Cup finalists in 2003 when Jose Mourinho was in charge of Porto. Aimlessly forward there by Nielsen. He's shown some nice touches though at times in this first half, particularly when they've been able to utilise Matthijs Gudmundsson down the right.
Yes. I think as well, you know, we were talking earlier, very interesting to see what fitness levels FH have in terms of being able to maintain it throughout the full 90 minutes.
Final minute of the first half. Has been something of a stroll for Villa, perhaps a bit too casual, conceding that goal less than 3 minutes after they'd gone in front. Routledge, challenged there by Valgadsson. There will be a free kick this to Aston Villa, right on the edge of the penalty area. There will be a yellow card for Hertha Valgadsson. Well, in any language, you were suggesting that he took the ball.
And he obviously didn't, did he?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. Sorry, sir, I took the man.
Well, he tried his best. Well, for Hertha Valgadsson. Barry again over the free kick. Driven in by Barry. Tipped over the top by Sigurdsson.
Yeah. Fine cross, come shot, call it what you will. And if you could have got the big, you know, Villa forwards coming across the face of the keeper there, that might have gone straight in.
In by Salafu this time. Once more, Sigurdsson has punched clear. There's trouble. He took a bit of a battering then as well.
He's got the punch in there again. It's, I still think, you know, there is the saying that if you can punch them with 2 fish, you can catch it. And I think he punches a little bit too easily at times, this keeper.
He's a carpenter by trade. His hands are important to back at work tomorrow morning, if not on Friday morning, no doubt. So it should have been comfortable for Aston Villa, and it did look that way when they took the lead. The impressive Craig Gardner, who gave Villa the lead, but then FH got their equalising goal. It was popped in by Atle Bjornsson. Bjornsson then making it 1-1. Should have been easy for Villa. They're on their way to the first round prop, however. It's 1-1 on the night and 5-2 on aggregate. Yeah, Craig Gardner, who gave Aston Villa the lead, a lead that was quickly cancelled out by Atle Bjornsson. Gareth Barry, of course, has this week committed his future to Aston Villa, and lying in wait on Sunday, of course, Graham, Liverpool in the Premier League, which is far more important, with the greatest of respect to FH.
It's going to be very interesting, isn't it? All this talk about Gareth Barry, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and we come to pretty well the last day of the transfer window, and the two clubs are playing one another. You know, whoever picks these, I don't know. But as I've said earlier, you know, Gareth is now staying at Villa, and he will be fully committed to the season ahead of his club.
How much can Aston Villa achieve this season? Looking at progress in the UEFA Cup, they want to maybe squeeze into the top four in the Premier League as well. It's very much a work in progress for Martin O'Neill. Benefit, of course, of Randy Lerner's millions, whether they be pounds or dollars. It's meant that Aston Villa have spent heavily again this summer. Spending might not yet be over either. Carlos Coelho has come in. He's on the injured list at the moment, although he would have been unavailable because there's a UEFA ruling which means that any of the latest acquisitions are not eligible for this round of the UEFA Cup. Only Nicky Shorey is eligible. Luke Young, one of those not considered. Of course, Steve Sidwell is still on the injury list, and Wilfried Baumer, unfortunately, out for the rest of the season after that horrible injury picked up in the previous round against Odense. Another photograph that you wanted to see across the Sunday morning breakfast table in the newspapers. He is out until the new year, the Dutch defender.
It's interesting watching Villa start. They've had a lot of controlled possession, not under a great deal of pressure. If just drop off and let them have the ball in front of them. So I'm saying if they can get it quicker and start to get 1 and 2 touch on it, then they create problems.
There's Routledge, who did cause 1 or 2 problems during the first half, and been picked out there by Barry. Rio Coker is operating as a right back, perhaps surprisingly. Craig Gardner in the more advanced role, just playing off the front two, Harewood and Agbon Lahore. Jabbed away by Sigurdsson. Gardner strong. Now Routledge. Agbon Lahore. Routledge again. Barry's made a late run into the penalty area, but the ball has gone out off Wayne Routledge for a goal kick to the team we happily call FH. I wonder he's reluctant to get back to his feet. Tommy Nielsen, FH's most experienced performer. Options, of course, available to both teams as yet. Nobody has used a substitute. We sat down at half-time with some trepidation, didn't we, Graham? We looked at our team sheets and thought, how many changes are we going to have at the start of the second half, particularly from Aston Villa? But at the moment, Martin O'Neill has gone with the 11 who started the game.
No, there's no doubt about it. I think, you know, he'll give them a fair run. Perhaps not even make any substitutions, you don't know, apart from 1 or 2.
Here's Agbon Lahore, neatly done, and Gardner again is in the middle. He was at full stretch. There was another surge forward by Craig Gardner, England under-21 international. Barry again, dropping in at left back again because of the injury to Nicky Shorey. Shorey picked up that knock at the weekend when Villa lost 3-2 to Stoke City. Trygve Gudmundsson.
I think more than anything else, you know, Martin will want this game to be won. I think that's an important thing. It doesn't matter which team you field in, whether anybody's getting opportunity or not. you create the win, you create the confidence, and it's that kind of mentality that you want running right through the club.
That is the Villa lineup this evening. O'Neill has kept the right balance to his team. 6 changes from the fixture at Stoke on Saturday. Mix of Harwood and Routledge, those on the fringes getting their chance. Ben Hood is the regular. Salifou. Now Routledge. Holding up the challenge of Trygve Gudmundsson, not to be confused with Matthias Gudmundsson at Bonlahor. Maybe a throw to Villa.
It's fair to say, Tony, really, that and it's nothing to be expected. It's what I would call a nice game, this. Do you know what I mean? It's a 4-1 start. You know, you're starting off the game 4-1 up. All right, it's 5-2 now, but it is to be expected. It just lacks for me that little bit of zip that, in fact, you know, really then attracts the supporters' interest and gets the supporters behind them. We're not quite having that.
Yeah, we haven't seen a huge amount of flair, have we? We've not seen the tempo increased at all. Villa happily keeping possession. Now they're being a bit more expansive. Isaiah Osborne with that magnificent crossfield ball to pick out Routledge. Routledge again unable to get away from Valgardsson. Valgardsson is one of those who's currently on the fringes of the Icelandic national team. Routledge doing the holding. Serious business in the UEFA Cup starts tomorrow, of course, when the draw for the first round proper is made. And beyond that, of course, there's the group stages. Some of those teams who are in the Intertoto Cup, their qualification started in June. Wayward clearance there by Friedel. There was Trygve Gudmundsson who was onto that, and have now been rewarded with a corner.
Yeah, I think Friedel will be pleased in one respect that, you know, he's not had to make that save at all, although he's conceded the corner. It was a slack clearance by him, and bearing in mind, I'm sure he'll be less than happy with his efforts to prevent the first goal when he handled it out, knocked it out into the goal area.
Trygve Gudmundsson across to take the corner kick. Up and out is the shout. And Villa have done just that, and Davis has taken a whack.
Okay. It's obviously been a crash of heads here there as he comes in, and you can see it's a real whack.
It's Oskarsson who's come up second best here. That's an improvement on Jim Walker in your days here.
Yeah, definitely. It's used to have one physio, now you have 10, I think it is, you know, so yeah, everybody gets looked after, and quite rightly so in that respect, but certainly looking at the lady physio there, you're quite right. I think I'd put her ahead of Jim Walker.
Jim Walker, Villa's former physio.
Yeah. Jim, if you're watching this, you know I don't mean it.
Oskarsson off for further treatment. Just over 22,000 here at Villa Park this evening. Villa deciding to keep their ticket prices down, and lots of families out as well. Opportunity for one or two of the under-16s, the under-10s, and some of the under-5s to get a chance to look at this Villa team.
I think that's good anyhow, isn't it? You know, you come in, your side's already 4-1 up, drop your prices, encourage the family to come, encourage them to bring their children, still the summer holidays as well. So I think it's been a good move by Villa.
And far more affordable, of course, when you consider what the prices are for the Premier League normally. Not just at Villa, but everywhere in the top flight in England. Gardner looking for Routledge. Picked off by Trygve Gudmundsson. Goal scorer Bjornsson through the middle. Davis back to his goalkeeper, and Friedel really under that clearance. Better than his last attempt. Now at the moment still down to 10 men, because Oscarsson, after that clash of heads with Curtis Davis, still in need of patching up. I think he's good being stitched, but there might be some plastic going into that head wound.
Been a bit scrappy since the start of the second half, I think. There's been a little bit of control play, but neither side yet have taken control of the game.
Bonlahor. Now God. Here's Rio Coca. Routledge with a chance to cut inside. And now to go outside again. The trick with Gudmundsson and Valgertsen both doubling up against Wayne Routledge. Here's Harewood. Didn't know a great deal about that, but he just about managed to get away with it. And there will be a corner this to Aston Villa. Shermu got across then to make the block. I bet you couldn't do that if you tried, Graham.
No, not at all. That's it.
Harewood waits. Barry again will take this corner kick. Driven in left-footed. And it's been touched on by Harewood. And Salafou was arriving and so nearly got there.
Came round the back post there. The flick by Harewood as well. He's come round just a bit late, isn't he?
Haven't been in short supply in the last 12 months at Villa Park. 56 in total last season. 12 months previously, the entire total, home and away, was only 34. Things have changed since Martin O'Neill took over. And progress on the pitch as well. 6th in the Premier League last season. 5 points behind Everton, who will also be on the draw, of course, for the UEFA Cup tomorrow.
Martin's in his 3rd season now, and I think a lot of Villa supporters accept, this is a gradual building process. And Randy Lerner was very good. He didn't come in and say, it's got to be European football straight away. So there's been an agreement between the owner and between the managers for what we should sensibly expect. And it's gradually being built here at Villa Park.
Martin really said that he does want a serious challenge in Europe this season, but not at the expense of their Premier League form. Matthias Gudmundsson. Looking for Trygve Gudmundsson. It's come out to Bjornsson. He's forced to save out of Friedel. Scored the equalising goal in the first half, and so nearly then putting FH in front. Here's Harewood, dispossessed by Sim. Groans of disapproval now from the Aston Villa supporters. Matthias Gudmundsson again. Oscarsson. Friedel at full stretch. And if Sigurdsson at the other end is watching, that's how to do it. FH goalkeeper who punched clear repeatedly in the first half. Friedel confidently gathering that cross.
I think Bjornsson there, with FH, it's a good shot that really, because he had little opportunity to get his leg right back here to take it with not a great deal of stride at it. And it was a fair shot for him. I don't think it was ever going to beat Friedel, but it certainly brought the save out of him.
Well, Bjornsson, who got that equalising goal for FH and who stretched Friedel then, is going off now. He's missed a couple of league games recently because of injury. He wasn't risked for the first game in Iceland. And he has gone off and he's now been replaced by Atli Gudnason. Gudnason, who did play in that opening fixture, was on the bench for the league game on Sunday, but he scored just 9 minutes after coming on in the second half in place of Eriksson, the fullback. They decided to change things in the second half. They're getting a bit desperate at that stage, and he scored too. And FH recovered from 3-0 down to draw 3-3.
Fair in these last few minutes, they've done quite well. I mean, they've knocked the ball about. Well, they did in Iceland. To be fair to them, when they have the opportunity, they knock it about quite well. But as we've said previously, their level of fitness and the levels that they play means that really Villa, whatever side they're playing, should be able to sort of look after them quite comfortably. But at the present time, I think that Villa were a bit disappointing as to how they're approaching this half.
Here's Osborne, looking for Agbon Lahore. Poor clearance by Nielsen, straight to Harewood. Harewood trying to get beyond Oscarsson. Yeah, I mentioned the fitness levels, and it's significant perhaps that since they were involved in qualification for the UEFA Cup, FH's league form has suffered a little bit. They're now in second place. They're 2 points behind Keflavik with just 5 games remaining. It's not exactly banging the drum, but Villa are getting a bit of extra support. Rio Coca. Now Barry. Salifu. Gardner always prepared to make himself available. Helped on again by Osborne. Agbon Lahore. Closely watched again by Nielsen. Followed by Goodmanson, who's just come on as a substitute here for FH. Nielsen. Coca. It's all a bit too easy now for Villa.
Yes, yeah, and you can just sense a little bit of unease in the crowd. I think they were looking for a little bit more than this.
Gardner now, with a positive and forceful run straight through the midfield. Managed to keep the ball in play. It was at full stretch, but it was to his team's disadvantage then. I mean, more pressure on FH, the ball gone out for a throw.
It's a long, long way to run to keep the ball in play, to backheel it to the opposition, isn't it?
Villa have got the ball back now. They're about to make a substitution as well. That goes Gabi Agbon Lahore. Warm applause for the England under-21 international. Standing ovation from one or two. I mentioned those for the future who are currently on the bench. And here's one of them, Nathan Delfonso. Played the last 15 minutes in Iceland. Only 17 back in February. Played for England at under-16 level. That's a team which is coached by Kenny Swain, who was in the Villa team that won the European Cup all those years ago.
Yes, yeah. As I said, there are some youngsters in the academy. Gordon Cowan's there, working away in it as well, the former star Villa player. And,
I don't know if it's because we're getting on with it, but when you look at one or two of these lads who are coming through now, the likes of Joseph Baxter at Everton as well, and Adam Smith, who featured for Tottenham in pre-season, another of the 17-year-olds, and of course Jack Wilshere, who's at Arsenal now, included in the first team squads for the new campaign. Here is Delfonso.
It's always good to see young boys come in, isn't it? And I still believe that even allowing for all of the foreign players that we have particularly in the Premier League, that if you can produce your own and they come in, they can show that they're good enough, then the crowd really take to them. I still believe that to be the case.
It seems to be Martin O'Neill's theory as well, to get as many English players or British players in this team of his. Might well have been the England manager, of course.
That's probably one of the best things that happened to him, that he didn't get the job. I'm not being disrespectful to Martin, but...
And also the day-to-day involvement, I'm sure he relishes that. Trygve Goodmanson. It's European football tonight. Premier League action this weekend, and beyond that, Yet more internationals. This time it gets a little bit serious though after the round of friendlies last week. It's Georgia versus the Republic of Ireland. That's on the 6th of September, live on 5. Republic of Ireland, their opening World Cup qualifier. It's Georgia away. It's actually being played in Germany because of the current troubles in Georgia. And that's a game you can see live on 5. Harewood using all his body strength there to hold off Sim. Here's Routledge, D'Alfonso in the middle, joined by Gardner. Routledge has done well. Big shout of a handball from the Villa faithful behind the Holt end goal. Trygve Gudmundsson. Oskarsson. Now Sim. Gudmundsson couldn't deliver the cross. He's got a second chance, however. It's Trygve Gudmundsson. The shot is deflected behind off Curtis Davies for a corner kick.
Well, there again, you know, Pat Nevin was referring to it at half-time. Gareth Barry well out of position there, caught out of it, and they've got him behind them. I've said it a number of times, I've never thought that left-back is his best position anyhow. I'm sure it's not. He can play down that left side, but he's not at his best there.
Corner has been taken short. Angle might be better for the cross now. He came straight the way through to Oskarsson.
Well, he made it well, not accurate at all, but having said that, it's a fair volley. He's come in well there, and needed to get the accuracy there.
Oskarsson, who was on the bench for the first game in Iceland, the one that Villa won 4-1. Played for Iceland in 3 of their European Championship qualifiers. Harewood. And now Vidarsson, the skipper. Back by Barry. D'Alfonso, the 17-year-old, wriggling away from Nielsen, looking for Gardner. Returners trying to pick out Routledge. A bit more pressing now from Villa.
Well, you just saw there with D'Alfonso, if as a young boy you come on and you do anything that appeals to the crowd, they will support you. Here it is, some lovely skill there. He's got a little bit of good fortune, but a presence of mind to attempt to do that, which is a good sign.
17 years of age, another 17-year-old on the bench is Nathan Baker, a defender. Villa are able to use some of their youngsters as fringe performers in the UEFA Cup. Looking very relaxed there. Right off for him. Serious business, of course, for Villa this coming weekend. D'Alfonso. Gardner is again searched for. He's made his move to the near post. Here is Gardner. Salaford. Used away by Oskarsson, none the worse for that clash of heads with Curtis Davies. Barry with the throw. Just beyond the halfway point in the second half.
It's just about the first time there we heard some Villa chanting as well. I think the crowd have been very good. They've sat here quietly most of the time, you know, knowing that their team's got this lead. But I think they would have just liked to have seen a little bit more action, a little bit more pace from the Villa team.
English representation in the draw for the UEFA Cup in Monaco tomorrow. Manchester City, Portsmouth, Everton and Tottenham. Draw is split north and south. 64 teams are involved. There's dropouts, of course, from the Champions League qualifying last night, including Standard Liège, Galatasaray. Napoli will be in there, as will Milan, of course.
Teams. I mean, it's such a situation now. It is almost a big thing. People talked at one time that there would be a European League. You can almost argue we've got that in the group stages.
Here's Routledge. Harewood couldn't connect. Now they can bury. And Gardner with a chance for a second. Villa are convinced that they should have had a corner kick, and I think they've got a good case.
Yes, I think they have. Rouse did well there. He attacked the full-back, got behind him, put a decent cross in as well, and those are a combination of chances and half chances. But Routledge, if you go quickly at someone and make your mind up that early, then he shows that he has got that within his capability. I feel on occasion he's been taking the full-back on, but too slowly for me. There it wasn't. It was pace. It was knocked in, not past him. Used his pace. Good crossing. Good play.
3 games in the Premier League last season, a couple for Tottenham, and then one for Villa back in April against Bolton. But he is quick. He is a threat. He has been repeatedly a threat to this F-Howe defence. Barry. Salafi, another of those like Osborne, who's getting a chance this evening.
He's feeling in these last few minutes, just a little bit uneasy with certain sections of the supporters where they want to see Villa go on ahead and win this game.
It's Osborne. Villa players being encouraged to have a go all the time now.
Never got a hold of it at all, did he? He's encouraged to shoot, but never made the right kind of contact at all.
First time that a 20-year-old Azar Osborne has featured for Aston Villa this season. Oscarson. Barry looking to release D'Alfonso, seen as the covering defender. And D'Alfonso diving in there. Impetuous, I think, rather than reckless, but it will be a yellow card.
It's caught him in behind, diving in the game. Certainly you have to learn these things as well, and definitely in European football. You can't take your body off the ground and go into people. You'll immediately get carded for that.
Oscarson is in some trouble again. Whack on the ankle now to go with a bang on the back of the head. Back in Europe for the first time in 6 years. It was a major disappointment. They only reached the semi-finals of the Intertoto that year before they were put out by Lille. Here's Harewood. Great turn by Harewood. That's brilliant, and it's a terrific save. D'Alfonso now. Marlon Harewood has been so impatient for his chance, with a great opportunity there for Aston Villa, and it was an opening he created for himself.
Well, you see, don't you? I mean, there he comes, uses that strength, turns well. You see that, Martin is capable of doing this. And then there are other times when he doesn't control the ball. It's the lack of consistency in his play that I think holds him back. But there was some very, very good play. and he was unfortunate not to score.
Brilliant turn. It was a good save by Sigurdsson, although he didn't know a great deal about it. He spread himself, the goalkeeper made himself as big as possible.
I think, no, Tony, that's the kind of thing that makes him an impact player. You can hold him on, hold him off, and you can bring him on. If he does, you know, 2 or 3 of those kind of things in his short spells on, then you're likely to get a result. I don't think he's mastered, certainly at Aston Villa here, being able to come on for the full 90 minutes game after game. I think that inconsistency in his play, you know, it then shows.
He has got the strength and he has got the pace. Here's Delfonso, has shown already that he's quick. Helped on by Barry. Salaford looking again for Hale. The FI coach said that his team were capable of making it awkward for anybody in Europe. Never really recovered after they conceded 2 goals in the first 6 minutes in Iceland. It did create problems that evening for Aston Villa. They wasted a couple of chances before Matthijs Gudmundsson pulled a goal back for them shortly before half-time, and it's been a similar story here at Villa Park. Villa going in front through Craig Gardner, and then FH equalising within 3 minutes through Atle Bjornsson.
I've mentioned it once or twice. I mean, some of the Villa supporters now getting impatient with it. You know, you can see it from their point of view as well. Although, you know, out there it is you're 5-2 in the lead. You don't want to be doing anything stupid or silly. But I think, you know, bringing in the families, lowering the prices, it's a good opportunity, you know, for Villa to show and really come and have a go at them, and let's get another 4-1 victory. The fact that they're not doing that is disappointing some of the Villa supporters.
One assumes that should Villa get through the first knockout round, and they're in the group stages. The competition is still seeded in the first round. Delfonso there almost at the end of that whipped-in cross from Routledge. Yeah, you would assume that they'd like to keep the ticket prices low for the further games that they'll play in this competition. We'll get maybe into the group stage, but there's unfinished business, of course. They've got to get through the first knockout round.
I don't think that will happen if you come back with a 1-1 draw and everything's up for it. You know what I mean? I think in this one they were very conscious that 4-1 up, how many people are actually going to come to this second game.
FH have made it interesting. They've done their bits. They've tried to put pressure on Villa whenever they can. And a couple of eye-catching performances, particularly from Craig Gardner for Villa. Alfonso's made an impact since he's come on. Some clearing from Barrett, but picked off by Salaford. Here's Rio Coker. Eased on again by Gardner. Salaford. Routledge unmarked. Rio Coker has seen it. Salaford. Lovely done again by Routledge. It's a terrific cross in, and this time Sigurdsson does hold on, and he wants to release the ball forward early because there was a chance there for FH to maybe catch Villa out on the counter-attack. The positive direct route forward.
Good play by Routledge again, skips the full back. And that's not a bad cross at all if you can get it across the face in front of the keeper.
Edging forward. Knight and Davis were back to cover the run that had been made there by Gudmundsson, who's a substitute here in place of Bjornsson, who got the equalising goal for FH. Nielsen. Now Sim. No shortage of experience at the middle of that FH back line. Nielsen, the 36-year-old. Sim, the Dane. This is how Aston Villa took the lead. Craig Gardner able to put them one up. And then, after a slip there by Brad Friedel, it was Artie Bjornsson who got the equalising goal for FH.
I think unless things collapse for them in, this later stages of the game, I think FH have every reason to feel proud of what they've done. Coming to a Premier League side already 4-1 down, I think they've done well.
Just 5 games of their league season to go as well. Missed out on the title last year. Qualifying for this competition, having won the cup. Another deep cross, which is aimed at the head of Herwood. Routledge with another opportunity. Again, he's held up by Trygve Gudmundsson. Alfonso, here's Barry. He might have thought about having a blast, but the angle was very, very difficult for him then. Splendid play by Rio Coca. Routledge has been very lively in the second half. Again, he's got the cross in. Barry's under it. And Barry was doing some pushing.
Well, certainly Routs is having a very good spell at the moment. He's got the beatings of the full back. He's now beginning to come with pace. He's coming, knocking it down the outside of him and putting the cross straight in. He's not trying to come back and beat him again. And he's had 3 or 4 crosses in now, dangerous crosses into the box.
Gudmundsson. Reward again for Gudmundsson's endeavour. It will be a corner again to FH. Gudmundsson will take the corner kick, taken short. Cross struck at Gardner. Gardner getting in the way for a second time.
Gardner certainly had a very good first half. We've not seen so much of him in the second half. Now, whether that's because Villa themselves as a team haven't come in and taken control of the game or not, I'm not so certain.
Some more zip in their play in the opening 45 minutes with Gardner pressing forward to support the front two. Coker given a nudge. And the crowd is better than we thought. It's over 25,000 inside Villa Park this evening. Terrific support, regardless of the marketing department's decision to peg the prices back. £10 for adults and less for the under-16s.
Good attendance. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. You asked me what I thought. I guess around about 18,000 I thought there would be. So 25,000 is a good turnout for this game.
FH making a further change. Further instructions being passed on. It's Gudmund Sivertsen who's come on, and it's Trygve Gudmundsson who's gone off. This is when it does get awkward, Graham. I hope you're taking notes.
Well, we'll cross out the number 9, put the number 14 in, but it's...
At least it's not like one of some of those pre-season games. Liverpool have played at Rangers and made 10 changes. Dossena was the only one who stayed on for the whole 90 minutes. That luxury not available to either Martin O'Neill or Heine Gudmundsson. Sivertsen, who came on as a substitute in the first game in Iceland. He's a regular for FH last season. They missed out on the title, first time in 4 years that they didn't win the championship in Iceland, but they did win the cup to qualify for the UEFA Cup this year. Iceland, of course, in the same World Cup qualifying group as Scotland and the Netherlands. Good determination from Delfonso then to ensure that Villa have the throw-in. Third and final change then for FH. It's Bjorn Daniel Sverrisson who's going off. Jonas Gardson will be his replacement. Third and final change then for FH, the team of part-timers from Iceland. Rio Koka. Gardner was doing the pushing. A couple of times now Villa have been able to get the crosses in on both occasions. That time Gardner and previously Barry being pulled up for their impetuous need to get on the end of them.
I was looking at this through Martin O'Neill's eyes. It's very interesting what he'll see. I mean, obviously Villa are going to go through, but you know, to have one away with their stronger side, one has to say, and then given the younger players an opportunity there, I'm still not so certain how he'll actually assess this. Certainly if he's looking to have a strong squad of players, a full squad of players.
Aldridge won the ball initially there for Villa. Now it's Osborne. Rio Koka, 3 to pick out inside the penalty area. He's only had a go himself. That would have been something of a novelty had Nigel Rio Koka found his name on the score sheet.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting situation with Rio Koka as well. His preference is to play in central midfield. Martin's been playing in wide midfield and at right back. And whilst he's fulfilled those roles, you know, his preference is to be in there in the centre of midfield. So how that develops through the season will be another interesting thing here at Villa Park.
He never scored one goal for Villa. That was in the Carling Cup against Wrexham last season. Game that Villa won 5-0. Rio Koka again on the ball, wearing the captain's armband for Villa as he did for West Ham United. Even younger than the great late Bobby Moore, I think, when he was West Ham skipper.
But you know, you're just looking around now and sections of the crowd are already moving. You know, it isn't a game that's held their interest really, if truth be known.
The supporters have seen enough. You can be sure that they'll be eagerly awaiting Sunday's Premier League fixture against Liverpool. There's a chance here for FH to surprise everybody, but it's one that they can't take. Well, Brad Friedel managed to get something on that in the end. It was the substitute, Jonas Gardson, who managed to get in behind the Villa defence then.
He was always at a cute angle there, but I felt he should have taken the shot earlier.
Savers and another of the substitutes with the corner kick. Matthias Gudmundsson. Big shout from Brad Friedel. He's happy this time to hold on. A bit of Martin O'Neill's summer signings, the goalkeeper who joined from Blackburn. 37 now, but signed a 3-year deal. A fantastic job at Blackburn as well, didn't he, over the years?
Been an excellent keeper, and the number of games he's played, never injured. He really has done well.
Makes it difficult for Stuart Taylor, who's on the bench again for Villa this evening. Further competition as well from Brad Guzman, the MLS goalkeeper of the year last year, who's been away at the Olympics and who hasn't been considered for this round of the UEFA Cup.
Hold it. Well played, go on.
Well, the European Cup winners in 1982, and they beat Valur of Reykjavik 5-0 at Villa Park in their first game. Listen, tired and wasteful cross. Routledge. Here's Harewood, closely watched again by Nielsen. And Harewood has got away from Nielsen this time. He's got support from D'Alfonso, and he needed to take a look up. And we've mentioned that he is at times terribly inconsistent. And there's a perfect example.
It is. I mean, first of all, I thought the Villa were slow to support him, giving him that credit. But he never looked up at all. It's what you call a head-down merchant. Head stayed down, just put the cross in. And it's a big thing, you know, it's no sort of being personal about it. But you got to play with your head up in football so you can see the pitch.
HF playing with their heads up now. They've played here with great credit, and they're again pushing to get some extra reward here at the end of the 90 minutes. Have made 3 substitutions. Martin O'Neill has decided to be cautious with his changes. The last thing he wanted, of course, was anybody injured this evening, bearing in mind that he's at Liverpool fixture on Sunday. Nicky Shorey wasn't considered because of the knock that he picked up at Stoke at the weekend. John Carew's been given the night off, as is Martin Lawson and Sylvan Petrov. The balance of the team has looked good regardless, and he has been able to experiment a little bit with Gardner in midfield and Rio Coker as a right back.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Tony. I mean, it'll tell Martin things, perhaps not all good things, but it tells him, and this was, I think everybody understood that this was an opportunity for him to attempt to find these things out. I think the only thing is that even, with the side that's gone out, I think the supporters certainly would have liked to see a more positive approach from Villa.
Has been far more comfortable from Aston Villa than it was for Manchester City earlier this afternoon in Denmark. Manchester City, who've qualified for the knockout stages, but they left it late against a Midtjylland. An own goal in the last minute of the 90, and then a penalty shootout which sees Manchester City through, and Villa will be joining them in the first round proper. 5 English teams then in the draw in Monaco tomorrow. Isaiah Osborne. He was waiting for the pass, and Osborne wasn't able to oblige. Barrett. Now Rio Coker. Last opportunity maybe here for Aston Villa, but referee from the Netherlands has decided that enough is enough, and Aston Villa are comfortably on their way into the first round proper. The draw is made tomorrow. Craig Gardner in what for him is an unfamiliar position in the central midfield, who gave Aston Villa the lead, but it was a lead that was cancelled out quickly by Atli Bjornsson. HF did exceptionally well here, the part-timers from Iceland, but it's Aston Villa who are through. It's 1-1 here at Villa Park. It's Villa who progress 5-2 on aggregate.